No matter what stage of dating you are at, you are going to face test after test from women. And if you're watching this video, it's highly likely you have already experienced these very tests which I am talking about, and you've came here because you're wondering, how do I pass these tests? What do I say? How do I say it? And when should I say something? Well, I'm going to teach you exactly that in this video. So as the title says, if a woman asks you, are you seeing any other women? Pretty standard common question. What does it really mean? And then what should you do? Well, first of all, you have to understand this is a test. This is what we call a shit test, where essentially she's testing your frame as a man. She's testing you to see, what will you do? Will you give me the answer you think I want? Or will you think for yourself, push back, be a man? Essentially, that's what it means. And I won't even lie, this is something I have went through many times myself, and I have definitely failed many times myself in the past, which is exactly why I'm making this video, so you guys can avoid the things and the mistakes that I made, which ultimately will have had an impact on my relationship with that woman, or my opportunity and ability to then get something out of that situation, whether it was short-term or long-term. So first of all, let's go through the worst possible thing you could say. The worst possible thing you could say if a woman asks you, are you seeing any other women? Are you chatting to any other women? Are you texting any other women? Worst thing is, no, I'm only talking to you. So why is this actually a bad thing? Well, you need to understand that the question she is asking, she doesn't care about the answer. This is one of those tests where she cares more about how you respond rather than what you actually respond. Because what she's trying to see is this guy a masculine man? Will he push back? Will he put me in my place? Or will he be a little man, a little boy man, and basically do what he thinks I want? AKA, when you do this, you're gonna fail this test. And so many guys fall into this trap because they think by doing what she wants, or what he thinks she wants, that will make her like him more. Absolutely wrong. Women are not looking for agreeable men who will go along with what she says, and she will respect you and like you so much more when you go against this. It's a paradox, because it makes sense on paper. You give a woman what she wants, makes her happier. No, it is the complete opposite. If this was true, you wouldn't see the amount of millionaires and billionaires getting divorced that we do. And there are so many rich, famous, attractive men that go through divorce. Kaka, for example, you may have seen the famous headline where his wife said he was too perfect. What does that even mean? Too perfect. He's tall, good looking, was one of the world's best football players, extremely rich, but his wife divorces him because he's too perfect. AKA, he did everything she asked for, gave her everything she wanted, but it did not satisfy her because he made the mistake of listening to her, which if you do this, you're going to fail. So what should you do instead to avoid this? Well, you need to push back against what it is she wants. And what she thinks she wants is compliance. What she really wants is disagreeableness. You to push back, you to take back control of the frame, as if to say, who do you think you are? Testing me. And you're going to receive all kinds of variations of this question, all the way from, are you speaking to other women, all the way up to, how many women have you been with? How many women have you slept with? Do you want to sleep with me? What do you want from me? These are all variations of the same kind of tests, aka shit tests. So what you should do is you have to say to her something which is basically ridiculous, exaggerated, because when you give an honest answer, you're basically complying. So what we do is we reply with a ridiculous answer, as if to say, your question is so ridiculous, I'm not going to give you the answer you want. I'm going to treat your ridiculousness with more ridiculousness, okay? And we use the technique called agree and amplify. So she says to you, are you chatting to any other women? Are you seeing any other women? You're going to reply with something, either saying, on this end of the spectrum, or this end of the spectrum. So for this end of the spectrum, it could be, speaking to other women? I'm actually a virgin, so of course not. I'm only chatting to you. This is an exaggeration because it's probably not true unless you actually are a virgin, in which case you could still use this, but maybe it won't come across as a joke unless you are able to pretend you're not a virgin. Whereas on this end of the spectrum, you're going to say, of course, I've got literally 2.75 girlfriends right now. Be the next one. What do you think? When you say this, she knows it's a joke. And when you use these extremely weird specifics, like 2.75 girlfriends, yes, it sounds weird, but it actually does work. And it's something that I use more or less every single day in my own relationship, because my girl, like any other woman, will test me. And when she tests me, Again, she's not looking for honesty, she's looking for, will he push back against me and take control? Which is exactly why I will never give her the honest answer. I will always deflect and agree and amplify or exaggerate. You need to learn to do this as your default way of speaking, because what I'm describing here, this technique, is basically charisma, and it's how you are going to be perceived as more charismatic. Because what you will find is more people who are more charismatic, they're not honest. They exaggerate, they tell white lies, they are being silly. They're not giving honest answers. Someone says to a charismatic person, how's your day? He doesn't say, great, thanks, how's yours? He'll say something like, absolutely amazing. I went to this big warehouse thing. I picked up these really heavy round things. My muscles are now hurting. It's called the gym, by the way. He's being silly and playful, okay? And as you're watching this video, you're probably thinking back to yourself, oh damn, I've had so many of these situations where I have been tested and I have failed. Is what it is. You probably can't recover now unless it's small ones, but what most men do end up going through is lots of these examples of situations, and they concede and concede and concede. And then over time, of course, she will lose interest in him because he has showed her his true colors, aka he can't stand on his own 2 feet. He can't think for himself, and now she's lost all respect and attraction, okay? Because what makes somebody be perceived as confident is him literally being selfish and doing what he wants, saying what he wants without any care of the repercussions. Which is why when you use the example of, well, of course I have 2.75 girlfriends, that's why this works, because you're saying, I don't care what you think. I don't care if I upset you. So next time you're in the situation, use this example. Free training guides in my description. Head to my TikTok, Instagram for daily short form versions of this kind of advice, and I will see you all in the next video.